The great pull of the world is outward. We are programmed to be deeply compelled by, affected by, and engaged by the manifested world around us, with all of its tensions, all of its dramas, all of its excitements, all of its joys, and all of its miseries. The world around us is a dynamic space of energies in motion, conflict and resolution, reaching for and getting, reaching for and not getting. All of the stuff that goes on in the outer world is where most human beings live. The only way that changes is if somehow by a gift of birth, by an experience in the world that shatters your attachment to the outside, or some initiatory rite that suddenly transforms you, and you begin to realize that there is a world within from which all of this springs. The real difference between people are those who are totally committed to, lost in, involved in, captivated by the outer, and those who have found an indication of, a doorway into, a universe of possibility that exists inside. There are lots of indications in the outer world that something else is going on. Part of it is intellectual, thought process that is happening somewhere, what feels like in our head. And another is the emotional spectrum that takes place in our chest, this realm of feeling. And the realm of feeling can be exquisitely beautiful, terrifying, compelling, and in many cases for people, more than they can handle. The potential for love is great, but the potential for hurt is great. Suffering, in most cases, comes from the heart. Often it's enjoined by the head, sometimes by the navel chakra, the gut, and there is a sense of despairing in the world, and it makes you want to find peace and comfort. And if your whole directive is external, if your entire directive is the outside, you will look into the world of impermanence for that sustenance that will get you past that which is uncomfortable, miserable, sad, repellent. You will look outside yourself and you will find impermanent, temporary answers to the impermanence and temporary nature of life. Whatever that may be. You may decide to fall in love with somebody. You may just look to sex itself. You may look to liquor. You may look to just television all day long. Whatever it is that pulls you into a place that doesn't create a constant barrage of suffering. The idea of going inward is kind of alien because it seems so much of the suffering comes from there. It is a kind of barrier to the thing you're looking for. The release from human suffering, the release from the drama of material life, from the atmospheric, sociological, political, environmental realities that we face, the only release from any of that is within. So little of our culture is directing people inward. So little of our culture tells people the answers you're looking for come inside. And instinctively, we have a fear of going into this place because of all of the barriers it presents. Because when you start to feel too much, you feel frightened and fearful. When you feel too little, you start to feel there's nothing there for you. But if you can begin this process of sitting still and observing the entry points into the being that you are, you will discover something I talk about probably every week, a welcoming into something greater. But the guardians at the gate are very strong. The guardians at the gate are boredom, wishing to do something else, fear of stillness, fear of emptiness, fear of deadness, all of those things that come right when you start to penetrate and go into your heart, into your mind, into your gut. There are these forces that keep you out. The spiritual life is a life that somehow has been informed by something in the world that says the answers you're looking for are through that very perilous, difficult gate. If you can penetrate that space, the navel chakra, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, the power of the release of your open upper chakras, if you can get in through a doorway, and the easiest doorway usually is the heart chakra, if you can get in through the heart chakra, if you can sit there at the door and just sit and breathe and ask for help to get in, the knock and it shall be opened unto you occurs. The seeking and the finding occurs. The asking and the receiving occurs. This is where it happens. You literally focus on your chest. Some of you will have a greater ease with the belly, below your belly button, the gut. Some will have a little bit ability through the third eye and the mind. Something that allows you entry. And as you go inside and you get past the place that wants to sleep, that wants to ignore, that wants to be bored, or is afraid of being bored, once you just sit in determination, you pass through an entry point into something that I describe endlessly as welcoming. Come on in. I call it embracing, and I call it embracing because that's the feeling. You enter into this space and it frees you from your complete preoccupation with the world around you. The world around us is full of drama. It is full of positives and negatives. It has an incredibly captivating, compelling, and repelling energy. And we are drawn to it so strongly because being born into the manifested world is kind of what we wanted. It's why we came here, to be part of all of this. This can be very benign, and it can be very gifting and loving and beautiful, and it can be very threatening and ultimately debilitating. And in the end, forgive me for telling you the truth, it kills you. It ends your being. It's a short ride. You get to come in, taste, smell, lick, feel, enjoy, hate, whatever your predilection, whatever your program, all of this. But it's for a short period, and then back into that from which you came, the formless, infinite, endless being that you are. Those of you who know how hard it is to go into yourself can only imagine that the final moment of a life that has never even explored that terrain, it is a very unexpected revelation. those who go into this thinking it will be deep sleep and nothingness may be surprised. You may be surprised how it's the opposite of deep sleep and nothingness, how it is in some ways a true waking up to what is and was and has always been, to ultimate truth. Let me put it this way. If I am wrong about that, and it is deep sleep, enjoy. That would be probably pretty wonderful. If, on the other hand, it is an awakening into higher awareness, deep, ocean-filled, massive, whatever you want to call it, truth, beauty, and love, the reality will be that the separate self that you are, that you think yourself to be in the world, will be dissolved by that energy. It will be broken down into nothingness. If you have begun that journey in your material life, if you have learned to meditate, which means sit still, hand yourself over to this thing that breaks you down, that releases you from your obsession with the material universe, let yourself fall in deeper and deeper and deeper into this exquisite place of dismantling, if you will, of arrival at something greater. There will come a point, either at the last moment of your life, or maybe, if you're lucky, earlier, where you go, and you're just there. But the journey to there is a life's work. And really, what is happening is the discovery that there is here, and that you're never here. You're always there. You're always in the next moment or the 20 moments beyond. You're always in the projection of fear and the projection of hope and the projection of what could be, would be, should have been, and all of that other stuff. You're living in this other world. And really, the journey in is letting go of that. Let go of that noise. Let go of all of that stuff. Just for a while, it'll come back. Let go. Go inside and go, it's your refuge. It's your place of stillness. It's your place of renewal, restoration, rebirth. It's all inside you. And learning to go there is fraught with struggle because we are so ignorant of and fearful of annihilation in a way. But it doesn't really annihilate you. It takes away the falsity, all of the illusion of what and who you are. It takes it away. What's removed from you is not the essence, it's the creation, it's the formulation of stuff. It's all good stuff. You have a mind, you have a body, you have a personality, you have a family, you have history, you have hopes, you have ambitions. All of that's there, and it will reduce all of that into a stiller version of itself, which allows you to penetrate this deeper place where you realize all of this stuff is sort of dreamlike. It's kind of like a projection, almost like a movie, and that you really exist in this deeper place. But for those who are afraid of that depth, moving toward that is the annihilation of everything you imagine yourself to be, and that's hard. It's only by somehow coming to know how valuable that trip is that it becomes the source of liberation in your life. You become a meditator. You become a journey person reaching for the truth that underlies the drama and the illusion of your outer life. Things can push you in that direction. I talk about them a lot. Tragedy, grief, dissatisfaction, human suffering, certain drugs, certain life events can propel you on this journey in because you just go, that ain't it. The world out there is not it. This is where I need to go. Usually the world is relatively benign, and you go about your life, you go to school, you get your grades, you get a job, you get married, you raise the kids, you go to school, you go to church, da 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 da. You do all the stuff of life, and it's fine. But every so often, and I've been talking about this a lot recently, life external around you becomes untenable, really difficult. It's closing in on you. You know, I had to cancel class today in San Rafael because the air is so unhealthy from all the smoke. I talked about this last week. My relatives here in Los Angeles are still out of their homes because the environment, the smoke and the fires have made their homes uninhabitable. That's right here. That's right here in the present tense. We live in a political environment, which I reference every so often. There's been a certain kind of lightness in the last week and a half in terms of hope and possibility of change, which is wonderful. But the dynamic is the world around us is becoming less comforting, less inhabitable on some level, which can make you kind of crazy and make you want to run elsewhere. But the only reasonable thing to do and the only place for you to go is here. Because we're so addicted to outside events, it's very clear that when things get very dramatic around you, you're going to be pulled outward into those events. You'll be in flight mode, you'll be in survival mode, you'll be in fear mode. All of those kinds of things can happen. But if you want to find a place where the stress reduction is enormous, where you can find a safe haven, if you will, an inner space of compassion and kindness and love, if you want that, you have to pass through the barriers that surround your heart or your gut or your mind, the things that keep you separated, the things that put you to sleep or put you into a state of dullness, or the things that make you frightened of going inward, of the stillness and the boredom. You have to penetrate, go deep. Rudy would say that all the time, you've got to go deep. So you have to bring yourself to the table, meaning the heart center, the navel center, the third eye, whichever centers are really vibrating for you. You have to go there and sit. Ask for help to surrender. Ask for help for these to open. And when they open, you'll be able to express your true nature, your true fear, your true love, your true joy, your true expectation. You'll be able to feel the world around you. You'll be able to feel compassion. You'll be able to move into a space of universality, so you won't be thinking just about you, but you'll be thinking about others. You'll be able to reach out into the community. You'll be able to become a person who is a giver of life rather than a hoarder of life. You'll become the thing the world wants and needs. And as I've been saying in recent talks, this need is growing. It needs you. It needs you because you have been practicing, to whatever degree, this ability to enter inward in times of joy and in times of travail, and to find this ignition that goes, and the motor's working, and you're a lover, you're a good person, you're a kind, compassionate person. You can reach out to family, you can reach out to people around you, to community, and people who need you, and be available. That's what a real spiritual life does. It allows you, one, to find a place of refuge in yourself in the midst of great drama and tension, and it allows you to communicate that still-pointedness, that compassion, and that love to others. You become a gift to the world. I watch so many people now over the course of multiple years who've sat spiritually. People who have had 30, 40 years of spiritual practice or more. Here's a real lesson. Few of them have changed at all. Same person, same people that they were. They have a certain kind of affinity for talking, speaking, spiritual talk. They have an ability to go to a class on a regular basis. They have an ability to think of themselves as somewhat uplifted by their spiritual practice, but they're the same people. I'm not saying that in a judgmental way or a critical way. I'm just pointing something out. So many people think if they sit and practice long enough and hard enough, they will get there. And I know I've spoken about this many times, but there is no there to get to. This is there. It's now. It's not future ever. It's not down the road. This is it. If you're not doing it now, you're not doing it. If you think it's going to occur or happen and unfold for you in 20 years, I can only tell you I've been around people who've done it for 20 years and it has yet to happen, and 30 years and 40 years and more. And one of the worst problems of people trying to get there is an incredible sense of insufficiency and failure. What did I do wrong? I still haven't done it right. If I sat 24 hours a day, then I might get there. If I really finally stopped eating sugar, if I stopped, whatever, the craziness of what you have to do to get there. Here's the truth. You are there. You are there. This is it. This is exactly what it feels like. This is the reality you have been seeking your whole life. This is it. It's not other than this. The only difference is you're either here in your mind, in your brain, and the externals of your life, or you're here with a root system that carries you into the depth of consciousness, into the depth of being. If you are truly here, what it means is you are rooted into still pointedness, you are rooted into the ocean of being, and you are emanating that back and forth between the manifested and the unmanifested, and you are living a life that is vibrantly charged with reality and truth and love and beauty and simplicity. Yes, it will be messy. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, you will feel frustrated. Yes, you will not feel like you've arrived anywhere. You will not feel that you know anything. I'm telling you from all of my recent talks, you will learn that you don't know anything. You know nothing, because everything that is conceptualized falls away. Everything that is known evaporates. What you come down to in the end is, this is it. This is it. In its dramatic and in its rarefied beauty. All of it together is one thing. If you have a balanced life, meaning you can go from the outer to the inner, from the inner to the outer, and you can find that they are a whole piece of cloth, you will have become a whole human being. And in the end, becoming a whole human being is an extraordinary achievement. Rare achievement. If there's a point to this talk, it's an encouragement to go in and go deep. Find the balancing points. Find the oceanic in the time and space expression. There is a place that is endless and eternal and infinite, and when you have touched that place in your daily life, it radiates out into everything. If you have not touched that place, and believe me, you're surrounded by people who haven't, it is, what movie did you see last week? Are you watching this television show? Oh God, did you hear about Trump? That's what life becomes. If you want that life, fine. It's still part of the infinite manifestation of being. If you want a life that has some content, some richness, some insight, some depth, some reason for being, go into your core self and let it reach out, radiate out, and you will be a gift to yourself and to others. That's the journey we're on, guys. And kind of your call, And I will tell you, as I've been saying a lot recently, the times, they are changing. And we need people who can touch the ineffable and radiate it into the world, because there are going to be people looking for sources of light, sources of well-being, sources of strength. Even if you can't be a source of light, you'll be at least somebody who has some inkling that there's more to what's going on than meets the eye. You know, the world is really going through some big changes, and we don't know exactly where it's going. You can get very dark and negative about it. You can also just start feeling whatever it is, I'm showing up for it. I'm showing up for the ride. I'm going to love everybody I can. It becomes poignant beyond belief. You know, I am experiencing, like my grandchildren, with a level of indescribable adoration in a way, because I get what a precious thing we are all in. And it's got a time clock. It always has had, but it really is one that's ticking loudly. It's ticking. Enjoy every second. Enjoy every second. That's all you can do. And then love the people around you who are enjoying it with you. I'm sure I'll continue this talk week by week by week. If you get the message, you don't have to come here. The message is sit down and be quiet and discover yourself. And discover the infinite and the eternal inside yourself, because that will give you all you need to ride the waves on whatever shows up. Thank you. Any questions?
About the letting go process, I know I've heard you say this, and I know you said Rudy used to say this a lot, that a teacher's here to take your shit and that you need to give it to them and they can handle it. And I recognize, you know, we're obviously attached to our shit as much as we are to our hopes, dreams, and fantasies, and it seems like to fully let go and enter that infinite, you have to let go of both.
It's a process. Let me put it this way. The idea of letting go gives a lot of weight to your ego mind. And the ego mind, quite honestly, lets go of stuff it doesn't want. It doesn't let go of stuff it wants. So you can try to condition it into, well, let go of this and let go of that. But if you really have a pure intent inside as a human being, what starts to happen is it falls away. You don't have to let it go. You just don't have to grab it. Stuff leaves you. And when you ask for help to surrender, to let go, basically, you're not giving the list of what's supposed to be let go of. It's a very, very generalized reality. You just say, please help me to surrender, and the world and the universe and this inner knowing, this inner wisdom will take over. It's really interesting. And again, I talk a lot about stuff from the age of being 75. Which to me feels kind of borderline old, but like I've been around the block a lot. And what I've discovered is you can own this process if you want, but truly it owns you. And it's just happening. And if you make yourself available to it in any possible way that you can, any imperfect way that you can, it uses you well, and it allows you to become a conduit for something very liberating, that for both you and things around you. Not always easy. It can shake things up a lot. It can be very complicated in its manipulations of things, because we're so complicated ourselves and so connected to stuff. But it gets in and it undermines, and it is an incredible drama that is involved in freeing you from all of your absurd attachments to the impermanent nature of life. You know, we're there to get attached, and we're also there to learn about detachment. And the human mind is a very small organ compared to the vastness of wisdom that is within us. That wisdom is a better guide than the mind. And when you allow wisdom to come in, the mind surrenders and the wisdom starts to pour through. And it's not you, it's never been you. The mind is only a small thing that sort of is able to cognate what's happening, but all cognition ultimately goes as well. So the wisdom will keep moving through you if you've found a doorway to wisdom, and everyone in this room is digging that path. You're reaching for that. So letting go is something that will happen to you more than something you will do.
You mentioned pure intentions, and that's something I've been thinking on. Do you have, would you describe pure intentions as sort of like the beautiful mind philosophy, that you're always coming at things with yourself in mind, but also simultaneously like the world and everyone else? Like, is that, would that be, do you have any words about pure intentions?
The best way to describe pure intention is that it derives not from ego mind, but from self, the larger self. And I bring it down to the simplest of terms: love, truth, beauty, compassion. These are pure intentions. Goodness. Somebody said to me the other day, God is good. And they said, it's not like an adjective. God is what is good. Whatever goodness is God. That is an intention that comes out of some core part of our being. And it really radiates out from us in a kind of purity that when you touch it, you know it's like a glass of water that's completely clear, as opposed to a glass of water that's got stuff floating in it. You really go, it's like perfect as it is. Pure intention arises from us to the degree that we get out of the way, allow it to be there. The fact that we don't sort of surround it with ego-mindedness, that we don't think, oh, how can I benefit from this thing that, if I'm nice, then I'll get back. That's where the ego cloaks pure intention in something else, and it completely despoils the thing that might have happened. When you just truly let go for its own sake, whatever happens, happens. And you don't sit there judging it, oh, look what I did, therefore I got, or I should have gotten. That goes away. It's just pure love for its own sake, be for its own sake. You know, the world is a dualistic space. Learning to incorporate both parts of it without judgment, without fear of one and hope for the other, learning to just surrender to totality, really has a kind of remarkable purity in it, because you realize it's bigger than good and bad. It's bigger than love and hate. There's something that surrounds all that, and when you touch that bigger surround, all those other things make a strange kind of sense. They're part of what is necessary to make, if you will, the world go round. The world, it doesn't go around so well just on love. It goes through all of these other things. Why manifestation requires duality? I don't know, but it's a projection. The truth of it is, it's all singular, it's all one thing, it is not divided, and when you fall back into that, you live differently. You live in the middle of the drama from a place that is not dramatic. And that's a good way to live. I mean, the whole idea of this is just to give you, a good ride. It's a short ride through materialized space, and you go, wow. I mean, we're lucky to taste this. It's a big deal that we got born. It's a big deal that the universe manifested to taste and know and see and smell and feel itself. We are the mechanisms through which that is occurring. It's not a mistake. It has greatness and it has horror. It's got everything in it. But it resolves itself, I believe, in this ocean of stillness or beauty or whatever you want to call it. I think the difference between an enlightened being and an unenlightened being is one knows or feels or believes in the infinite or has tasted it for a second, and there are people who are only in the finite and lost in it and fearful because it's going to get taken away and they don't know what's next. If you've had a glimpse of or an immersion in infinity and the eternal, you will live life differently. You will experience it differently. And that's what I think we're here trying to do. And it just gives you a life, And I see everybody living at different levels, at different layers of that continuum. And the people who are more content, if you will, are people who have had some glimpse that there's more than this. And meditation is how you glimpse it.
After all you've been through, have you come down on one side of the argument between free will and predetermination?
I don't. No, I haven't. I don't even see it as an issue. What appears to be free will may very well be predetermined by all of these other forces, but I'm still an actor in a game that free will seems to be part of the equation. And I think that thy will and free will are all part of an extraordinary inner dynamic that I am grateful to be part of. I think once you start to separate it out, I think you start to get into a mind space that creates a lot of dissonance. And I just go, I'm doing the best I can. That's really how I look at it. I am trying to put one foot in front of another with a solid step each time that holds me. I know at one point the earth will give way, but I'm walking the path as best I can until that takes place, with a certain amount of faith that when it does give way, I will move forward. And we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. I hope I'm not, spreading false ideas here. But if you can present me with other ideas that speak more to the core of what we're going through, that's great. I'd be happy to hear them. But I know this speaks really deeply to me.
Well, I thought about it because of what you said earlier about people not changing over a long period of time, and that those roads are decided early on, and that we just follow them somewhat blindly sometimes.
This is an old idea, but it's really, really important. God loves you as you are. For all of your crazy, messed up stuff, when you do evil and do terrible things, there's something that comes out of that. I don't know if you ever watch any of those TV shows when the news isn't on CNN at night. They have these prison things. And every so often I'll turn them on thinking I'm going to watch the news, and I get immediately captivated by all of these guys who have done horrible deeds. And I would say 80% of them have learned phenomenal lessons as a result of it. 20% are irredeemable and dark, and I know their lessons will be learned in the last instances, or in the, what do you want to call it, the Bardo states of the universe. But horrible deeds provide for a lot of clarity down the road, and in solitary confinement, and all those horrible things that happen bring you face to face. So I look at it and go, we have hard ways to learn truth in life, but truth prevails, and we do learn it. I do believe, and in the end, whether you learn it or not, you're going to end up in it. And you've never not been in it for a second, not for 1/10 of a second. This is truth, however it appears to you.
I feel a connection between these two questions. So I want to make a statement, and then I'd love to hear your reaction. What I want to say is that I have learned a little bit how to forgive myself for impure intentions.
Yeah, no, beautiful. It's about acceptance. That's a word you hear endlessly in spiritual circles. Accept. We are what you might call imperfect entities, imperfect beings in a perfect universe. So how does that dovetail? Well, then you're perfect, as you are. The journey is the journey. We're all here learning something. I watch everybody learn something. The people who don't change over all these years, I don't have any critical words for. I just go, that's how it works. We don't change very much. We live this life. We participate in the journey. We are one with the journey. The one thing you could get, if you're lucky, is a place of knowing that gives you insight and some ability to find a stressless, less anxiety place that goes on the journey, If you can't find it, they don't care. You can go through it with anxiety or no anxiety. The great gift of a spiritual life is it opens a door to a place where you can see more profoundly what this all is. And that's good, I think. It feels good. But it's the same journey.
Well, with that you get a better view.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you think about justifying that not to make efforts?
I think not making an effort relies a lot on luck. You know, that everything will work out just fine. Making an effort is it's like the idea of it takes two to tango. You know, there's you and the universe. If you don't do anything, I've watched people who don't do anything in life, and their lives are really ill-formed. They just don't know how to put two and two together. They're suffering in life. They don't know they blame everybody and everything for things. People who make an effort are, in a sense, in alignment with these higher forces. They are allowing this deep inner directive to actually form itself into something greater and better and higher. They are building the life, the manifested world that this has come into being for. We are part and parcel of the plan, if you will. Those who are sitting back and not doing anything may stumble upon something just fine, but mostly I think one gets into a place of terrible inertia, terrible struggle, terrible unhappiness, you know, because you're not making any effort. You haven't been trained to make an effort. You haven't even been sort of governed into the idea of making an effort, and that's a terrible place for a human being to find themselves. The universe karmically puts people in those spaces, I think, with the hope that something will ignite in them to help them work through, work with, become a partner in this process. Life's a partnership. It really is. Community is a true element in the human experience. We come together to function together. The more we function together, the better. In some pure sense, we would become a global community, a universal community. But the terror of that is starting to show itself. Everybody's moving back into tribal states of me and mine, and not us and the collective. But the reality is we are being forced to realize we live in a very small planet that requires all of our participation and all of our effort. So people who don't make an effort, or who try to push the effort off on other people, are going to be very unhappy in this journey. And life is totally allowing of that. You can be totally unhappy. I mean, this is where I think your will is important. Can you really choose to do the dance? And I think one of the great parts of this practice that we do is asking for help. Help for, I call it for surrender, but it's really help to know, how do I proceed? How do I move forward? We don't always know, but I will tell you, the roadmap, the navigational system that we all need and want is inside here. And if you go in, you will go, oh, that way, that way. Or it will tell you, doesn't matter. You can get that answer. This way, that way, you're fine. But when it matters, they'll tell you. And then your effort is to cooperate with what you've learned. So it's a long-winded way of saying I think effort is a crucial part of this journey, and I happen to like partnerships in life, but I've seen people do a lot of dancing on their own, and it's beautiful too. So I guess there's a whole talk to be had on effort. So it's a good question, but I do think effort refines the energies and allows you to carry them to more complete places. Anyone else?
Do you think that self-love is like a byproduct of letting go, or is it something that it deserves to be worked on, or are we even capable of loving ourselves, or is that why we have to accept God's love, because our ability is so limited?
Good question. If you go deep into your heart center, if you can just make the effort to spade the work into that place, there will be a love that pours forth that loves you. and you will realize it is your own self that loves you. What you discover in this inner eternal space is who you are. And the love that comes through is not about what you've done, or your ego tells you how beautiful you are when you look in the mirror, how bad you messed up in something 2 years ago. And all that just fades away. This thing just loves you. It is the ground of your being. When you go into that space, you are loved. So self-love is not something you choose to create. It is something that already is. And you get to witness it. And you'll be blown away by it. It accepts you with all of your failings, everything. It just loves you. I love my grandchildren more than they love themselves at this point. They can do all sorts of crazy stuff. I love them, and that love feels like the same exact thing that you're talking about. They get upset and angry, and they hate themselves, and I did this and I did that. I just love them. This thing loves us. Really, really loves us. Okay. Thank you. We'll have 2 classes in a row here, so I'll be back a week from today. You're all welcome, and I look forward to seeing you. And once you get this message, there's no need to come here. On the other hand, there is something, and I say this frequently, where else can you go? Where you just sit in a group of people and love is at the center. Where else can you go? If you can find a place, go. If it's not the local movie theater, maybe a concert hall, somewhere it may happen, but it's repeatable here. It's available here. It will not be. You will never come here and not have it. So.
I just want to make Ananda asked a question to the Buddha: is the spiritual friendship a big part of the journey? And the Buddha said, no. It's all of the journey.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really, that's kind of what you come to in the end. It's just, when you love yourself, you realize there's nothing that's not yourself. And it just goes out. Thank you. Thank you all.